We appreciate that you're still here, and a sincere apology for the rather long break. We're trying to sort out a thing or two. Again, thank you for staying with us. Now, from our chat with Basile, it is clear that Africa's relationship with China is complex and multifaceted. To further explore this conversation, the economic dynamics and the strategic implications for Africa, we're joined now by Africa Affairs and policy expert from Manchester, Lanre Toluhi. Lanre, thank you for joining us. Let's get right to it. In what ways could China-Africa relations influence global economic and geopolitical dynamics, especially in the context of US-China competition?
Let me say good evening, Felicity, and good evening, everyone at home.
Lanre, can you hear me?
You can hear me. Can you hear me?
Okay, you want me to repeat the question?
I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, please go ahead with your response.
Okay, good evening, Felicity, and good evening, everyone at home. It's the mutual benefit. Is there a mutual benefit in it? And when we talk about complexity, it is quite complex, and because it's a one-way direction. China apparently is the only one gaining from whatever relationship they have with Africa and Nigeria, if we are if we are to localize it, because everything they do and everything and how everything is being implemented, it's all in China interest. China is, I think, if Africa is not careful, which I think is a bit late, but it's better late than never. Africa probably is being recolonized by the Chinese with the way they've been going about what they are going through. And I really don't blame China, because Africa has shown that we lack leadership. Our leaders have not really been proactive. Our leaders have not been proactive. They've not been upright, and they've not been determined in making Africa work. They just wanted to take money, take loan in all kinds of things, and they're looking for easy money out, easy way out. Nobody wants to get cracking. Nobody wants to roll the sleeve.
Is that still your assessment? I guess I probably should have started with your assessment of the just concluded China-Africa Forum. Is that your assessment based on current events, including this recent one?
Yes. It's my assessment based on what has been happening and what happened. Look, Africa had gathered in China, in Beijing. What have they gotten? You see, every deal, every MOU that has been signed, every fund that will be released in Chinese yuan is not going to come to Africa.
I don't know if you watched my my earlier conversation with Basile. He did highlight a couple of tangible benefits from our relationship with China, even though he still has some skepticism as to the imbalance in the relationship. But there were some gains that he felt is something of note. Don't you think that Africa, despite the fact that we know China is clear with their global agenda, but is it that Africa is totally losing out from this partnership in your view? Because that's what I'm sensing you're saying.
Africa is totally losing out. Africa is not gaining anything, and that's where I was going to. Africa is not gaining anything. It's not about economics. It's not about the textbook economics or what. It's about reality of life. You get trillions or billions or hundreds of billions of loans from China. These funds never leave the shores of China. They are always in China. The funds don't leave. They don't come to African economy. And whatever infrastructural development you want to use the funds for are being carried out by the Chinese national. They use the personnel, they import, or China will export them and import them to Africa and use the national to everything. Let's take Nigeria, for example, where we are all Nigerians. I'm a Nigerian. I know you're a Nigerian. Let's bring it home. Even to the Chinese restaurants or Chinese hotels in Nigeria. Look, they write their menu in China. They write their instructions in Chinese rather. They write them in Chinese. These guys, they don't even eat our food. They import their food.
But Lanre,
the funds are not coming in. So it's not beneficial to Africa in any way. It's just easy money.
Should we really be blaming China in this instance? Because these are two separate entities. Africa is on its own, China is on its own, and then you have China already having Africa strategy plan. They already know what they want from the partnership. But just like I spoke with Brazil earlier, Africa doesn't seem to have a coherent voice when it comes to advocating and pushing for what would be more beneficial to the continent. Shouldn't your concerns rather be focused on the failings of our leadership here in Africa and maybe how we can push them to do better? I think that's the line we should be focusing on, don't you think?
I told you that we have our leaders that are not upright. I know that was one of the first words I used. They're incompetent. I talked about our leaders. And like I said, you see, Chinese is preying on it. Chinese is preying on the greed and the self-centeredness of our leaders. And that's what it is glaring. Because, our leaders have decided, like I said, they've decided not to do what is right. They've decided not to be proactive. They've decided not to be upright in doing, because there's a lot of potentials in Africa, a lot of potentials in us being great. Because when you look at it, when you look at the world population, when you look at the African population and you look at Chinese population, see, the last time I checked, African population is about 1.4 billion. While Chinese is about 1.42 billion, while Chinese is about 1.41 billion, which is very relative. But in terms of landmass, African landmass is higher because Africa has a larger landmass, while the Chinese have just about 9.6 million square meter. So the square kilometer. So they actually need the African land. They're actually colonizing and getting what we call satellite towns and satellite city in Africa. They know what they wanted to do, like you said. See, we have semiconductors. We are the only natural resources we can use to manufacture the microchips that is running the world in Congo. But the guy mining such resources in Congo, what is the purchasing power of such child? What is the spending power of such child? You see, China knows that we have great leaders in Africa. They are preying on it. They are not being straightforward with Africans. But because
Lanre, I'm actually trying to nudge you towards, because one of the reason for this kind of conversation is for us to look for our own solutions to some of these challenges that we continue to have. And that is why I'm going to press on and ask you again, how can we nudge our leaders in the right direction? Because as much as even I personally, even though I'm not supposed to say that on air, I do have grounds with the China-Africa relationship from my limited knowledge. The ball still lies on us, on getting our acts together. So how do we begin to do that? How do we begin to, get our leaders to do the right thing? Because we cannot keep excusing their incompetence when it comes to getting what Africa needs.
Yes, how to nudge our leaders is the first thing is our recruitment process, leadership recruitment process, because we need to get that right, to get the right people in right offices. Africa needs to shy away with religious, ethnicity, tribal sentiment, and all that. We need to start taking leaders with competence, people that have something to offer. When people doing when I mean our recruitment process, the elections, and a lot of Africans, 90% of African nations are running democracy. But what happens prior, during, and after elections? We see what happens. We see our leaders, we see the way they do. When they go for a campaign, they don't even tell us what their manifestos are. And when they tell us what their manifestos are, they don't explain how they're execute each line item of such manifesto. We go to campaign and it's all about rallying, about jamboree. They sing songs, they dance, and they insult their opponents. Nobody's giving us a clear cut. But here, you don't even blame them too, because you see, don't let us forget that at a particular point in time, every leader was a follower. So because as a result of bad followership, we are having constant bad leaders, because you have leaders, look, Felicity, if anyone in your state or in your local government has an inclination that you want to run for as low, sorry, I'm using the word as low, but it's really not low, but it's very important. But I'm just trying to say in terms of hierarchy, as low as local government chairman in your local government in 2030, they have the inclination today, which is 2024, 6 years to go. They'll start giving you bills on a monthly basis what you pay might be more than 5 million naira, spending on people telling you how they need to do a child birthday, how they need to do things on frivolity, because they make you spend money you don't have, they make you go borrow money, they make you take loans and all that, you sell your property to do that. So when you get to these offices, the first thing you do is recoup the funds you have spent or you expended, and you want to steal more so that when you are running for the next office, you don't have to go borrow with high interest rates. So we need to understand our recruitment process has to be good. We need to now start asking leaders, when our leaders are coming in and they tell us they want to lead us in any capacity, councillor, local government chairman, House of State Assembly, governors, House of Rep, Senate, or the presidency, we should be asking each and every one of them, what is your manifesto? What are the line items in your manifesto? How do you intend to implement such manifestos? Because if you tell me you are going to provide 1 million jobs every month, you should tell me what you want to do to provide 1 million jobs, because talk is cheap.
You
should
do have
tell
a
us those are the
point
things
with...
people should be talking, and that is what we do. And our leaders need to start thinking, because the truth is we have what it takes. Before China became what they became today, China shut themselves out of the world.
You do have a point about
Africa need to shut themselves out of the world, have in-house conversation, think of what to do, and start harnessing our natural resources, our human resources, because all these things the potential for Africa to be great is awesome. If Africa becomes
Lanre, let me
wealthy,
cut in
the
again.
whole world become wealthy.
I was trying to say that you do have a point with the recruitment process submission, and we've seen pockets of people trying to come up and hold leaders accountable, but it doesn't seem to be enough, and that is the conversation for another day entirely. But for today, I want to ask, what would signal a balancing or a shift in the balance in the scale of relationship that we have with China? Because as it stands, from what you were saying, from what I'm getting from you, it's tipped totally towards China. When we get our acts together, that's what I mean.
When we get our acts together, we are going to see it where it's going to be more beneficial. It's going to be a symbiotic relationship, not what we are having presently, where the African leaders cannot demand. I don't have problem with borrowing, and I've told a lot of people that I don't have problem with borrowing if you are using the funds for the right thing. Because imagine
I guess I should rephrase that and ask. I'm asking, what would signal a balancing in the scale for you based on our current realities, based on maybe the agreements that have been reached, for instance, the 2035 vision for Africa-China cooperation that was signed, something in that line?
That's where I'm going. I'm just trying to make the foundation of what you asked, because it's going to be a situation where there's human resources development, because we can't deny that China has a good human resources development. And if you have such relationship with them, there should be a kind of exchange where our human resources we're trained to manage what we have. And that way, things will not be written in Chinese, because our official languages in Africa are not Chinese. It's either English or French or Portuguese or whatever it is. So we don't have to have such relationship where things will be written in Chinese or instruction. We need to have human resources. When we start seeing a human being developed, when we start seeing these funds that they claim they are giving us, or they claim they are releasing or borrowed to Africa, really coming to Africa, and African countries or homegrown countries are executing these infrastructures, not the Chinese firm or Chinese personnel executing this project. They can give expertise, they can have some percentage. It's good, it should be symbiotic, like I said. It is not going to be what we are seeing now, where we have the funds we borrowed and the road for road construction or for rail construction, and 80 or 90% of the staff member of such company will be Chinese, eating Chinese food. No. If you're having them in Nigeria, you should have Nigerians. It should be more than 10% Chinese. If it is in South Africa, it should be more than 10% Chinese there. It should be local. So when we start seeing the human development, when we start seeing the funds that they say they give us actually coming to our economy, because if those funds actually are coming to our economy, no matter how wicked, no matter how mean our leaders are, we are going to feel the effect of these funds. One of the reasons we don't feel the effect of these funds being released or claimed to be released is because these funds never leave the shores of China.
Quite unfortunate, really. I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful as always when we have conversations like this. You did say that Africa has the hugest potential there is for growth, and maybe in this lifetime we get to see those manifest. Thank you very much, Lanre, for speaking with us, even though the time is short.